took right to it. He said, you have fought in every war since the Revolutionary War, and you took to the pews and the picket lines to raise and lift the conscience of America. But we have failed you. Washington, D.C. has failed you. Your inner cities are blighted with poverty, with joblessness, with murders and crime. He's saying it's time for a change. It's time for a new day of optimism, that he is the man to do that. Let's take this right to our political power panel with reaction. We've got Republican strategist Gianno Caldwell and Democrat strategist Sasha Burns. Gianno, your thoughts?
Well, you know, this was a truth-telling session that Mr. Trump gave, and I tell you, there's a Democratic activist in Illinois. His name is Mace Jackson. He often challenges Democrats and Republicans with the moniker, what's in it for black people? Well, Mace Jackson, I can tell you, what's in it for black people, according to Mr. Trump, is credit for African-American businesses, microloans, closing the school-to-prison pipeline, funding for HBCUs, among a number of other things, financial reforms. These are things that we have not heard from a Democratic candidate running for president. We haven't heard from a Republican, especially a Republican candidate running for president. And I tell you, if the media covers this well, if they cover this like they should, as they would provide the coverage for Hillary Clinton, I think there's going to be a lot of African Americans that take pause with their votes for Hillary Clinton. There's going to be a number that says, hey, I'm just going to stay home and let the chips fall where they may. So I think he did a fantastic job. He has to stay on message throughout. He has to continue, and he's going to have to pump this out through his own campaign vehicles because, you know, the media isn't likely to cover this fairly.
Yeah, you're right. And, you know, given the media coverage, Sasha, and what we've seen is that basically the Trump campaign is thought to be an improbable campaign. But when you listen to his supporters, there's a reason why he has such a huge following. He's saying the future belongs to the dreamers, not to the cynics, to the doers, the men and women who have been failed by Washington, D.C., the little guy who works every day and struggles, the little guy and gal who tries to get by, but they can't, and they're voting in politicians into office who regularly fail them and tax them and regulate them and ruin their jobs. He's saying he's the guy to make the change. What do you think, Sasha?
Well, the great irony is that these people, his supporters that like this speech, really don't like anything that he was talking about. And the reason maybe you think it's electrifying and that it was powerful is because it was a Democratic speech. He talked about how terrible the wars in the Mideast were. Yep, they were. How many trillions of dollars were wasted?
What do you mean the supporters don't like anything he's talking about?
He was anti-war and pro-social policy. Mm-hmm. I mean, everything that he said, Liz, was a Democratic idea. It's urban revitalization.
No, wait a minute. Hang on. No,
wait, hang on. No,
he's saying, hang on a second. Yeah. Sasha, what you just said is entirely wrong. Gianno, he said in this speech that the Democrats have been in control of the inner cities for 50, 60, 70 years. Right? The Democrats have been in control. What has that resulted in? I hear what Sasha's saying, that there are Democrat ideas out there, but you saw a detailed policy speech right there from Donald Trump and how he wants to fix it. And what he is essentially saying is, what are you hearing from Hillary Clinton? Vagaries, vagueness, vapors, nothing. Go.
Well, Liz, we know that black lives don't matter to Hillary Clinton. Black votes matter to Hillary Clinton. We've seen that throughout her entire career, especially during this campaign. What Donald Trump has laid out is something that Hillary Clinton won't be able to match. But at the end of the day, this is very good for the African American community, because when Donald Trump has mentioned these issues time and time again throughout this campaign, her rebuttal isn't policy specifics or saying, hey, I got this better policy for the African American community. It's name calling and rhetoric. That is problematic on many levels, and I'm very, very thankful to see that Donald Trump has a moving policy that's going to largely benefit the black community. This isn't something that even President Obama has done, and this isn't something that I think he would even do. So I'm thankful to hear this from Mr. Trump.
Sasha, go ahead.
So let me go back to what I was saying, Liz. He needs to hope that he has a Democratic House as well as Senate, which he's going to have now, because no Republican would pass.
That's not true.
Hold on.
That is absolutely not true.
Wait.
No
Gianno, let Sasha finish. Go ahead.
Would pass any of these ideas. That's my point.
But why?
Because it's social welfare.
Where did you hear social welfare in that speech?
He talked about social welfare programs.
No, he's talking about jobs.
He talked about, okay, you just read them all out. The school to prison pipeline, urban revitalization, more cops on the street.
And economic growth.
Bill Clinton.
That's economic growth.
Right, but it takes money into infrastructure to make that happen. He talked about this 35% tax he's going to put on these companies. No, because taxes originate in the House.
No, wait.
He doesn't have the ability to do
He's not going to do executive orders to raise
taxes.
taxes. He's talking about the hollowing out of the inner cities, Gianno, and the loss of jobs in the inner cities, and how that has really hurt African Americans.
And that comes from Congress.
I'm
no,
really
it comes
wondering.
From growth. It comes from economic growth. Go.
I'm really wondering what speech was Sasha listening to, or did the DNC just send her some talking points? Because none of the stuff she's saying is what I heard in the speech.
To the
so let me talk about the school to prison pipeline. Let me talk to you about the school to prison. Let me talk to you about the school to prison pipeline. Currently, there's about 2.3 million people in the American prison system. About 1 million of those folks are African Americans. That's a very serious issue. Folks like Chuck Grassley, Senator Durbin has made mention that there's a need for criminal justice reform, and that's something that both parties can agree on. Where's that a social liberal policy? Mr. Trump is hitting on the heart of the issues that face the African American community, and unfortunately, we haven't heard much of that in this policy cycle.
I'm sorry, Sasha
in this election
and
cycle.
Gianna, we're out of time, but you will stick around because watch this.